Hi everyone, can you hear me? If you could give me a heads up in the chat if you can hear my voice, then okay, perfect, great. So let's wait maybe like 1 or 2 minutes to see if more people join. I see people still joining, so I'll wait a bit. So cool. I didn't do that kind of thing since we were promoting the stable release. So I'm really excited to give you an updated intro to Sylius. A lot of things in our vision has I wouldn't say changed, but just clarified. So I think we have a much better idea of what Sylius is and what are our goals. And yeah, I remember I enjoyed the Q&A after the presentation a lot. So I'm looking forward to having a discussion. There's a little bit of delay within the chat, so but I think we can manage. So feel free to post questions as I will be going through the slides. And after I finish sharing my screen with the presentation slides, I will try to go through the questions and answer them. And of course, you'll be able to continue asking them. So. Okay, I think we have over 60 people. So I think I'll start with the slides. So let me share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you see my screen already. So the goal of this webinar is to give you introduction to what is Sylius. And by Sylius, I mean a bit of information about our organization and what we do here in Poland, what is our vision, why we do what we do every day, and also introduce you to our main product, which is Sylius e-commerce framework, the open source project that is available on GitHub. I would like to give you an introduction both from the business perspective and also from the developer perspective. So when and why it's a good choice to invest into learning Sylius as a developer, and when it's a good fit for your business when you are evaluating different e-commerce solutions, architectures, and yeah, basically need to make some tough decisions that will affect your business for the next couple of years. Yeah. So, a few words about our organization. We call ourselves like a for-purpose organization, not non-profit or for-profit, but just for purpose. And we have defined our purpose as to catalyze trade with technology, because we strongly believe that every time someone is making a transaction is actually a lot more than just, exchanging cash for goods and services. Obviously, that's what's happening physically. But if you think about this, if you think about every commercial transaction, it's always a win-win when it's voluntary. Like when two people voluntarily exchange goods and services for money, both of them are walking away from the transaction as winners. And people from all around the world trade through e-commerce technology. They might even not, they don't actually, most often they don't know each other. They speak different languages, they have different religions, political views, and so on. And even though they might even hate each other if they met in real life outside of the transaction space. But still, they trade. They both win, and we believe that by building a technology and making it available to as many organizations and as many people as possible, that supports, that catalyzes, so causes or accelerates the process of free trade, we make the world a better place. So the purpose is quite broad from my perspective. So right now we build, we are building, of course, Sylius as an open source project. But when I think about the future, there's many possibilities that are complementary to that purpose. So a quick background of how we ended up here where we are right now. So in 2010, my mom and her sister, Sylvia and Justina, so that's where the name comes from, they have founded a small cosmetic selling business for which I built my first store. It was a totally custom PHP code built from scratch, heavily inspired by the first version of Symfony, but still I was still in high school, so I had to build my own framework, obviously. And soon enough, very soon, I got frustrated with the amount of work that I had by building the store, upgrading it, maintaining it, and also maintaining my own framework. So in 2011, I decided to rewrite the solution on top of Symfony. Initially, it was just a set of loosely coupled bundles for e-commerce. So maybe some of you remember the times where there was no there was only a sandbox project that was a starting point for new websites, but generally you only had a couple of Sylius bundles like cart bundle, product bundle, and so on. Very soon I started a remote job at an agency from France, at KNP Labs, a fantastic team of Symfony developers. And around 2013, we started development of alpha version of what we have right now, basically. So like a full e-commerce platform. So we turn these components into a fully working solution, which you can install, and you don't have to integrate them all from scratch. 2014, I co-founded a software house that was supposed to build sites on top of Sylius, e-commerce sites, and also support the project. And but until 2016, the whole development was, I wouldn't say random, but it was, we didn't have a core team or anything like that. We were relying on contributions from the community, and also developing a bit, some bits of Sylius in-house. But in 2016, we have made a decision to, take what we have so far, the alpha, very early alpha version of the software, and rewrite with a stronger vision, with more complete, rewrite it as a more complete product. So 2016, we started development of the current version. There was a time when we had two admin interfaces, the old one and the new one, and both were developed at the same time. So it was a migration from the old stack, also old versions of Symfony, to the newer ones. And in 2016, we have managed to release the first beta version. I think this is when we got a lot more traction. People were more confident to choose beta software compared to alpha. And 2017, we spinned off to a separate company, finally Sylius company, with the goal to be a product company instead of a software house, was created. And we also managed to release the stable version of Sylius in September last year. That was when I did the last Q&A. And 2018, I think the biggest thing so far is the launch of the Solution Partner Program. And there are weeks when 10 production sites are deployed, which is a huge improvement from the alpha and beta stages. So this is where we are. About the future of Sylius and on our direction in general, I'll be talking a bit further in the presentation. One interesting thing about us as an organization is that also we have, in March this year, we have adopted Holacracy. Holacracy is kind of a framework for self-management for so-called teal organizations. So if you're familiar with the teal concept of new organizations, then this is our direction. We are self-managed, so we don't really appoint any managers. Everyone is managing themselves in clearly defined granular roles, so we don't have job positions and so on. We are building the whole business around this evolutionary purpose. So it's not whether we make the biggest profit or not is the final question, but whether we serve this higher purpose that we have defined. We still believe we can build a sustainable and big business around this idea, but we believe it's much more inspiring and challenging to do something like this than just let's build a company and sell it afterwards or something like that. And we try to show up as a whole human being at work. So we really focus on silencing the ego and avoiding trying to be the smartest person in the room, but actually to get the job done and solve things and build on strength and not weaknesses. So if you're interested in this concept, there is a blog post about us adopting Holacracy, and I also wrote recently, it's in the draft stage right now, a new blog post that is kind of like retrospective of the last few months under Holacracy. It should be up and public on our blog very soon. So we also have a fantastic network of solution partners. Also, we are starting to build technology and hosting partnerships. We currently have 12 companies in the network, and this month we are adding next 5 or 6 companies from all around Europe, which is currently our target market and focus because we are based in Central Europe. So that makes sense from our current stage. In terms of our business, we of course develop Sylius and build the ecosystem. Some amazing companies are sponsoring the development of Sylius Core right now, but we also train and consult businesses, development teams, and also some new additions to new products built on top of Sylius, specifically the multi-vendor marketplace that is already available on the site. I may give you some sneak peeks or a couple of more informations, but we are still in process of development, so please be patient. Yeah, but now going straight to the main thing of this webinar. So Sylius e-commerce framework, what is it? We try to avoid calling it like e-commerce CMS or e-commerce platform, because it's not a CMS. So what's the difference? From my perspective, if you look at the e-commerce market, you have the smallest e-commerce sites, which are to me like up to 1 million euros revenue. So not a huge amount of orders per day, maybe even not an ERP yet, and so on. Rather small product catalog and so on. And for these companies, cloud solutions like something like Shopify, Shoplo, depending on the market, especially localized SaaS solutions seem to be like the perfect match, because the investment into technology is not that big yet. There's a lot of work on the marketing and product development rather than investing huge amounts into custom solutions. So for these companies, like SaaS cloud solutions or maybe e-commerce CMSs, something like WooCommerce or PrestaShop, are the way to go. They usually have a much lower cost of ownership. They are easier to set up. And at this stage, very often the company doesn't even have yet their own processes. So it's actually convenient to learn from the platform how things are done in e-commerce and so on. And from our perspective, this is not our target market. You can build a small shop on top of Sylius. That's perfectly fine. But we believe that we are trying to be a separate category of e-commerce solutions. So targeting this from 1-2 million yearly revenue up to 50, let's say. Some of the biggest retailers are within the range of 30-50 million online revenue yearly. And this is when things start to be more custom, not as custom as it is for Amazon or Zalando. That's a completely different category. But still, the more you go towards bigger e-commerce volume, the organization becomes bigger, the requirements are more custom, you are leaning towards becoming a technology company instead of just a retailer. And this is where Sylius comes in as a framework. So it doesn't solve all the possible e-commerce problems. It doesn't have, you know, all the UIs to click through it by the end user and so on, but it's a solid foundation for building your own custom solutions. It's an especially interesting segment for us is are the companies who, even though there are alternative solutions available on the market like Magento, Shopware, they still decide to build a custom solution. And this is rarely a good decision, in my opinion. It's very costly to build a team, to build a set of best practices and so on, to build a team that will develop the framework itself and then the ultimate solution on top of it. So that's in my opinion the difference between Sylius and other like CMS solutions from my perspective. And the core ideas that we believe are supporting this this segment is high and continuous developer productivity. So we are targeting projects that are under continuous development, that are these are not like 1-2 months project to develop a store, you know, like install a team and then get it up and running for the next year, grow and maybe switch to something else. Sylius, this is not our target. We are looking at companies who either have very good solution partners who will perform continuous development over the years, and or in-house teams, of course. These are two main targets for us. And when I say continuous developer productivity, I mean it's very easy to start, you know, to start very fast and develop quick and dirty features, which initially seems like a very productive process, but as soon as you accumulate this technical debt, you start to slow down. And if you look at pitch decks of e-commerce companies like Airbnb and so on, you see they had plenty of competition, like LinkedIn, for example. They had plenty of competition, competition that was actually bigger market share than them, but they won because they were faster in development. They could iterate faster, they could develop features faster. They could remove features faster if they didn't make sense. You know, sometimes it's a good idea to remove a feature and move that energy to some other area. So for us, the continuous and high developer productivity is very, very important. The second core idea for us is to collaborate and integrate rather than trying to put all the possible features inside of Sylius. It's not very popular to say, you know, to a customer that, yeah, we have less features than Magento, but we actually think that it's an advantage, because we see that what is happening with these medium-sized e-commerce sites is that it's actually much more beneficial at this stage to have a separate tool for managing the product information. Like I think the success of products like Akeneo or Pimcore, this is a huge evidence that what is happening right now is that e-commerce is not as simple as it was for these mid-market companies, as it was like 10 years ago, when all you needed was an e-commerce platform with, you know, simple PIM, orders, management, and so on. The whole process becomes more and more distributed, not like microservices distributed. That's not what we need, I think, at this stage. But we believe that Sylius and our focus of the core development is to make it as easy as possible to integrate with other solutions. So with the best PIM, with the best loyalty solution, with the best CMS, if that's the requirement of the project, if it has like rich content requirements and so on. So we have put a strong emphasis on single responsibility principle in Sylius into providing, like a foundation for the basic e-commerce flows, on top of which you can build your own custom flows and integrate the tools that you need. And being cloud friendly, like most of mainstream solutions, actually all of them, were developed at the times of simple deployment to VPS or dedicated server on Apache. And we see now that the industry of hosting and virtualization is evolving very fast. That's why we recently pushed hard the effort to Dockerize Sylius, and this is already it's ready to use, available on GitHub. Big thanks to all the committee members who helped us with that, because we don't really have a very strong Docker know-how in-house. But our focus is to make Sylius easily deployable to all kinds of cloud solutions, and achieving the holy grail of production and development parity with Docker. That would be the sweet spot. We did this happened on a couple of projects already, but we are trying to do it for generic project setup that can be reused by as many developers as possible. So to give you a rough idea of how the Sylius stack looks like, on the very bottom, we have the layer of Sylius components, which are just plain old PHP libraries with a couple of classes, interfaces that solve common e-commerce problems. So you can take taxation component or shipping component and figure out a simple system to manage multiple shipments and shipping methods with taxes applied, but without the whole other part of orders and products and so on. Then on the second layer, we have the bundles, which are shortcut for Symfony developers. So basically, as a Symfony developer, you can install a bundle instead of a component, and you get a bit of a boost, because you get doctrine configurations already, you get some templates, some tweak helpers, and basically tools that support Symfony developers. And on top of these components and bundles, we have built Sylius platform. So the full e-commerce solution that you are able to install, and it's a foundation for your own custom project. And if we look at this platform, it's again one more component and one more bundle, so-called core component and bundle. And what they do is that this is the place where taxes are integrated with the product, with the basic product catalog of Sylius. So this is the place where the product variation learns that it has a tax category and shipping category. And also this is where our basic order model is connected with the promotion engine. The checkout flow, the base checkout flow is also implemented in this core. So most of e-commerce logic is inside of this core, while we also have admin, shop, and API bundles on top of it. What is interesting about them is that you can disable each of them very easily. It's removing a couple of lines of configuration and maybe one line of PHP code that allows you to completely disable the admin interface or the B2C shop interface that we provide, and reuse Sylius just as e-commerce API server. Now, also, what's important to note about these components that they are mostly tweak templates and routing configuration. There is a bit of PHP code inside each of them, for menus, for some custom controllers that are needed, but generally these are routing and templates. So it's very easy to do two things: either replace them completely with your own, you define your own routing, your own information architecture, and so on, and your own templates, or customize them, because you don't need to rewrite big chunks of logic. You mostly replace routing templates and maybe implement a couple of custom controllers to perform some product-specific actions. We are generally used to this approach with monolithic e-commerce app, where there's some kind of user interface, desktop, mobile, and so on, that is connected to the server and polling the web shop. But what we are the ideal Sylius project is not necessarily API as illustrated here. It's totally possible, and it's a valid use case of Sylius. That's actually one of the directions for the future that we are exploring. But we are looking at a more integrated and distributed e-commerce architecture. not necessarily microservices, like full microservice architecture. What we have seen overkill, especially for greenfield. Only successful projects are the ones which start from monolith. So this is still to a certain degree a monolithic approach, but already a bit more distributed, where Sylius is connected to the PIM, which provides where the whole product management happens. It's connected to loyalty software. It's connected to your ERP. It can be done through APIs, but it can also be done through message bus, so message queues. And one of our strong focuses for the future versions of Sylius is for Sylius to have an excellent event system inside of the core. So, and by event, I don't mean like hooks or Symfony event, dispatcher events, but the proper event bus implementation, where these events can be either consumed by internal message bus or sent to the queue and consumed by other systems. So what all this and our focus means for the business. So for the segment that we are targeting, it's crucial to stay unique. At the very beginning, you can have your unique brand and build your community on social media and so on. But as soon as you grow, staying unique is very, very difficult. So Sylius being a framework where you can take it and customize it in an efficient way without rewriting the whole core and having a fork. This is a big issue that is happening with the current mainstream platforms, that they are literally forked by the companies, and they need to maintain their own version of the platform because the overriding is not done with the best practices and so on. But they do it because they need a unique customer journey. And believe me, Sylius is really not, it doesn't put any obstacles in building your own custom customer journey. I really don't know which device will be the mainstream for e-commerce, whether it will be the fridge or VR or home assistants. There are plenty of them. We are following all the developments, but it's difficult to say which device will be mainstream for e-commerce, except mobile and desktop right now. But Sylius was built from the very beginning with the API. Our side rendering with Tweak is just one way to deliver the e-commerce experience. So we have two APIs right now available. One is in the core, which is RESTful API from the admin perspective, and we have a plugin that enables a shop-facing API that can be used by any device, any programming language, actually. An important thing about requirements of the segment that we are targeting is they usually have their own custom processes. They maybe have multiple departments, and there are certain ways that are done in the company in a certain way, basically. So our administration panel is built with a high degree of customizability in mind. It's also mostly Tweak templates and routing and grid configurations. So it's very easy to adapt the order views or create different types of order views for the same entities in the database and so on. Basically, the administration panel can be adapted to your process. And we did this on our own projects in the past, and we see it constantly happening, where even some of simple production processes are added to the administration panel with ease, and it's not a big challenge. Still, despite all the things that I say about Sylius being very focused and solving like 80% of the core e-commerce problems, we already have a pretty rich feature set, especially important if you're running a multi-country or multi-department organization. So things like multiple currencies, languages, multiple channels with different look and feel, or payment, shipping methods. This is all available out of the box. And our current developments are still focused on some of the features that we consider like 80% of the core problem, like refunds, credit memos, and some of the things that are in our opinion missing in this core feature set. We have dozens of payment integrations available, and it's very easy to add a new one. We are using actually a completely separate open source project called Payum. That is like Sylius' e-commerce framework, then Payum is payment processing framework. I think that's exactly what they describe themselves on GitHub. So Payum is for us an abstraction layer that handles a lot of different shipping methods, a lot of different payment methods. Sorry, with refunds, capturing, authorization, workflows, and so on. So in an ideal scenario, if you are missing a payment method integrated within Sylius, you have a plugin ready to use, or you have a Payum adapter that requires just a bit of glue to make it work with Sylius platform. And I think one of the important things for the business, despite the feature being a bit technical, is Sylius gives you an ability to go through the learn, build, and measure workflow very efficiently. So we employ, like, when your team decides to use Sylius, it's not only about, the latest PHP features and latest Symfony framework and all this stuff. This is crucial, but we also provide you with a set of best practices like solid, dry, object calisthenics, and agile workflows, behavior-driven development, about which I will talk in a moment. And all these technical aspects allow developers to be very productive, not only in the first phase of the project, but continuously. Of course, it will always slow down a bit. It's happening, but at least it's not slowing down to absolute zero within the first months of the project. And going through this learn, build, measure workflow is especially important for something that I think needs to happen to a lot of companies if they want to stay on the market, or at least if they want to grow and have a bigger market share, is basically transforming from a retail-only business to a technology company. I think the most successful retailers, brands are really technology-centered companies, where technology is not an annoying investment to make, where you need to choose a solution provider and choose the platform and build a shop or upgrade your shop because everyone is doing it. But we are thinking about companies who really put technology at least at the top 3 elements of their strategy, where they want to perhaps have a small in-house team, or maybe have a strong relationship and continuous relationship with a good solution partner in the outsourcing scenario. Now, a couple of things for the tech department, like what does it mean? Why Sylius is a good choice for the tech department? Like I said, it's very easy to deploy it. We are still experimenting with the standard Docker deployment setup, but it's already easy to deploy Sylius to Google Cloud, Heroku, Platform SH, and all the PaaS or cloud providers. It's like we don't do things like writing directly to the file system. You have full control over how do you store session. There are some replication capabilities available out of the box within Symfony. Actually, a lot of these things are solved by Symfony, not even Sylius directly. And as we know, the direction of Symfony is also more containerized architecture and environment of the applications. So that's if you struggle with hosting right now and it's a big pain for you, then I think Sylius might be a good choice. A big thing for choosing Sylius is also Symfony. Like, it's enterprise grade open source, even though it's PHP, which for the mainstream market doesn't always sound like quality. Really, I think Symfony set the bar very high, both in terms of the code quality, but also like the standard that they provide for other projects that are based on it, like the strict BC policy, very clear development roadmap, and basically a global community of developers that are available. I think that's very important if you're building a team, either it's at the agency or at the retailer or merchant. I think it's crucial that to work with Sylius, you don't really need a Sylius expert out of the box. Like you don't need, if you have some Sylius know-how, or if you invest in some consulting training, it's perfectly possible that as a Verge Symphony developer will be productive from the first 2 days on the project, because really Sylius is a standard Symfony application. We try to stick to Symfony best practices as really other standard libraries. So that's one of the things that we do for this productivity, is that we really don't reinvent the wheel. We focus on building the e-commerce part, while all kinds of PDF generation, image resizing, database management, all this is solved by widely known libraries from the Symfony community mostly. And yeah, if you're a CTO or team leader who wants to build like state-of-the-art technology, and by state-of-the-art technology, I don't mean the code quality alone, because for me, great code with amazing quality that doesn't generate money for the business is really not state-of-the-art technology. But if it's if building technology solutions with the state-of-the-art level is something that you're passionate about, then I think we'll get along very well, because we like employ enormous amounts of passion and energy to making Sylius really the state-of-the-art solution, and also the practices around it. Like I said, we also provide, apart from the e-commerce stack and development stack, we also provide certain methodologies. They are not invented by us, of course, but I think we are, at least in the open source sphere, pioneers in behavior-driven development. What I've seen during my consulting and during my development years is that one of the biggest costs of software development is the communication. Basically, the cost of the translation between the person with the idea and the developer. And in the worst case, there is a manager and product owner in the middle of these two persons. So we all have different perspectives. We, like, the information that we process in our brains, in our minds, are filtered by different experiences, different knowledge, different areas of interest, and so on, different goals also. And all this is making the cost of translation of the requirements very, very high. And what we do with behavior-driven development is creating so-called ubiquitous language. So this scenario that you see on the screen right now, this is a typical user story, except that it's written with a specific language called Gherkin. And what's special about Gherkin is that it can be easily understood by business people, by non-technical stakeholders in the project, but it can also be easily understood by the machine, by the local or continuous integration environment of your project. And these scenarios can be executed as acceptance criteria test, either or in the main like integration test. It really depends on the technical choices behind your test suite. But this writing feature requirements for the most critical, not for everything. It's still some overhead. That's completely obvious. But writing these scenarios for the critical paths in your project, checkout, promotions, discount coupons, and so on. Writing these for the critical components of your project really reduces the amount of differences, the amount of issues and bugs that appear in the project, because it gets everyone on the same page. And we see that Sylius is developed using the same methodology, and we see that not only in our team, but also in the community. By using behavior-driven development, we got everyone really on the same page, where we communicate using the same terms for the same concepts. And it's very easy to fix and reproduce some of the bugs reported by the committee by just writing an appropriate scenario. Behavior-driven development is a topic for a separate webinar and a separate presentation. But if you're interested, we have a couple of articles on our blog and also in the documentation, and of course, bhat.org, the website of the tool that we are using, would be very interesting for you. Like, there are some projects. It's a minority currently because it's a completely new approach. But there are some production projects that are built using the SPA or PWA, so Progressive Web Apps approach. And if this is something that is interesting for you and you see the potential for your company as a team leader or CTO to employ the Progressive Web Apps approach, then I think it's a wise thing to consider Sylius, especially that we already have some integrations. We have the API that is available that is available with a plugin actually that can be used to develop your front end as a completely separate thing from the backend. So here you can see a simple documentation of the shop API that we provide, and it basically provides you an API in JSON for all the cart, checkout, my account, and product listing interactions. So it's very easy for you to develop an application in React if you have the know-how. Of course, it's not always the best choice. If you have the know-how in the team, if the business is ready to invest into continuous front-end development, then it's something that you can definitely consider. Okay, so maybe I show you a bit of Sylius itself. It will be a quick demo to just give you an overview of what's the structure of the application. So let me switch from the presentation to the demo instance. So this is a demo instance hosted on Platform SH. It's running in the demo environment, so basically everything works pretty much as on production except outgoing emails and payments. So the default user interface, it's not very pretty. I have some good news about it, but I will leave it for the end of the webinar. But this shop area provides, like I said, it's mostly tweak and routing, and it provides you with the standard B2C interface. Of course, that is based on MySQL. There's a plugin for Elasticsearch for larger catalogs. We of course have the cart interface, product options, and so on. We can go through the standard checkout process. Where we have different shipping methods. Payments, that's the default checkout flow of Sylius. It's building statement, power to configure a different process, like add extra steps or remove the steps or replace the checkout completely. So replacing checkout completely with your own flow is not, it's significant effort, and you should evaluate whether it will pay off. But it's still much simpler than in existing solutions, because what you see here is mostly templates, routing, and state machine configuration. A couple of forms that can be actually reused, forms for address, forms for the shipping methods, and so on. So when I right now I ordered as a guest, but we also have the My Account section. So if I log in as a test account, I can change my personal information, password, manage my address book with the default addresses, and see order history. This is pretty much a basic My Account functionality. And when it comes to the administration, we have a very simple dashboard with some statistics, but like I said, we would rather encourage you to integrate, to do proper, to use as much as possible of Google Analytics, which is a really powerful tool, and integrate some of the reporting tools and analytics solutions rather than expecting to have all-in-one solution. This, if you see the patterns in the world, it's really not what is happening, that everything is becoming more centralized. It's actually more of outsourcing, integrating, collaborating, rather than having one-in-all solution that will get your business up to 50 million euros revenue yearly online with few clicks of the admin panel. It's actually happening. Yeah, so we have in the administration panel, we have the catalog section, which allows you to manage categories, products, attributes, view your inventory. Sylius has a single warehouse inventory implementation currently. We have the sales part where we have orders, the customer part with customers and groups, some of marketing with product reviews, promotions, and one of the most interesting parts, so configuration of the store, where you can set up different channels on different domains. But it's really easy to customize, resolve for the channel, not based on the domain, but based on the URL pattern or a cookie or any other context that you would like to use the different channels. So I think it's important to note that we built Sylius with e-commerce in mind, but it doesn't necessarily have to be website-based e-commerce, right? So we don't have a concept of websites and stores, contrary to some of the mainstream solutions. We have this concept of channels, and each channel can be something like different mobile applications, different countries, different regions. You could have a separate channel for your desktop and mobile app, because each channel can have different locales, different currencies, tax configurations, host name, different theme, and also things like payment methods, for example, are configured to have a different payment enable compared to the desktop channel. So same for the shipping methods and promotions. So it's pretty flexible, and you can achieve most of the things that you would achieve with different websites and stores. Now, to give you a bit of social proof, most of these are available on our website as case studies, but Sylius is used in production by some big companies since a couple of years. I think one of the biggest would be Reiss, the fashion brand from the UK that is running Sylius since 2016 and selling internationally. We have Pop Sugar, an American media company that has built a subscription business. Pop Sugar must have on top of Sylius. They are using Sylius since 2015 and has been serving thousands of subscribers and orders each month. It's fast growing. I don't know if I could call it a bigger company that is very fast growing and technology oriented and has been relying on Sylius. We have Casa Palacio. It's a division of one SKUs of furniture that is also running on top of Sylius. We have New York furniture outlets with 25,000 SKUs, 25 furniture brands. It was built by an in-house team. And I think that's a good example of what I say when, what I mean when I say about transforming into technology companies. Like the CEO of the company said that this is probably the best e-commerce framework our team had experience with, fast, scalable, and customizable. It does the job for an A+. So if you aim to become a technology company, still a retailer, still a brand, manufacturer, and so on, but with technology at the heart of the business, then Sylius is definitely a good choice. I think one of the things I like is that because some of the companies that come to us and choose Sylius already know Symfony, but some of them don't. And the companies who are introduced to Sylius Symfony, the best is behavior-driven development and all the methodology that is around Sylius, they see a huge improvement in their all developments of other back office tools that they start building with Symfony or some Sylius components and so on. So it's really a huge improvement for the whole tech department. And we have Hypebeast, which is a digital and media e-commerce company based in Hong Kong. It's one of the oldest Sylius sites. I think they adopted Sylius very early and running it with success in 2014. And of course, we have Best Value. I hope Gabby is on the stream. With the duty-free retail chain in Europe, also a brave early adopter part by Sylius since 2015. We have a case study on our website because you might have some questions about performance. Best Value got 2 million page views in 24 hours with 100,000 write requests. Peak was 2,000 requests per second, and Gabby wrote us a nice email after this viral campaign, thanking for the for surviving this without any hiccups. So we have some production sites that are handling thousands of orders per day in peak moments, and it's not an issue. In terms of social proof from the perspective of developers, Sylius is currently top 4 PHP e-commerce among devs in GitHub ranking. We are not basing our marketing strategy on the GitHub stars, but I think it's a good indication of what developers are looking for in modern e-commerce platform. All the packages that we have been downloaded over 4.5 million times. We have over 800 people helping with translations, contributors to the translation. I think right now it's even more than 1.3 thousand developers on our Slack, which are registered. It's very active, very cool. I wish I could spend more time there and talk with everyone, but I'm quite busy with a lot of roles in the company right now in Holacracy, and we have over 470 code contributors. And now, before we go to the Q&A part, just to give you an idea of what is our direction. Like I said, we are constantly working on the state-of-the-art e-commerce architecture. If you tried Sylius already and you like its code base, then I think you'll be happy to hear that we are constantly working on our stack and looking for improvements while maintaining backwards compatibility. So don't worry, there will be no huge breaking changes in them. In the future, we understand that upgradability and this continuous development is especially important, and you don't want to do replatforming every 2-3 years. We have a public roadmap that is published by Magda, who is product owner of Sylius, and you can vote on the features that you think would fit Sylius core. So we are very open to feedback. All this is visible on our GitHub. You can have a look there and submit some roadmap proposals if you think that advanced permission management is something that Sylius would benefit from. Then let us know on GitHub. Really take it into account when setting our priorities. We are working on a new front end that is completely designed right now. What I can say already is it's built with the same principles in mind, because definitely currently Sylius is much stronger on the backend side rather than front end. The front end was done by me, so maybe that's the reason. But the new front end is built with components in mind. It's based on Figma. So and we adopted Google Material Design as the base design system. So we want to provide kind of the same experience that we currently provide to backend developers to the UI designers and front-end developers, where they can use a set of reusable front-end components, both in the design process, where they can customize and tweak the color, the branding, and so on, and we use as much as possible of the base design and front-end framework, while still delivering the the customer journey that the business expects. We are also working on the Sylius store, where you will be able to, as a developer or as agency, to publish both free and paid plugins, extensions to Sylius, and also buy them as a merchant or team working on a project that requires some of the functionality that we don't have in Sylius Core. I think it's important to note that, as I said, we are not targeting, click to install plugins where your customer or you as a merchant will be able to, click through the interface and have this huge new loyalty program launch. This is not the way the things work at that segment. So these plugins are very easy to install, but by developers. So you still need a developer to do it. And they are like time savers. So instead of spending, hundreds of man hours on some feature, you spend dozen or a bit more of development time on installing and adapting the plugin functionality, what you exactly need, what are your processes, and so on. And like I mentioned during the presentation a couple of times, headless and progressive web apps is definitely an interesting topic for us, and we are investing some of our time and resources into exploring this. But not to say that we are abandoning in any way the current development flow with server-side rendering. We consider headless and progressive web apps as the future, but like alternative approach that we would like to support properly in the core. Yeah, so that would be the end of the presentation. What I can tell you as the final word before we go into the Q&A is that there's an opportunity to get trained in Sylius by me personally. I'll be in Berlin in the first week of September doing an open classroom training where you can buy one seat for you or a couple of seats for your development team. The program will be our standard training program that we have developed over dozens of trainings for development teams during the past years, which will be getting started with Sylius. It will introduce you to the Sylius project, how to start a new project, what's the architecture in more details. It will also teach you some fundamentals about working with resources, customizing admin interface. It also has a bit of a module on testing and BDD. It's a program that we have to get you up and running very fast to start your first project. And even if you had one project behind you already, I think it's a good opportunity to learn the best practices directly from the core team. And I will be looking forward to meeting you in Berlin. And if you think about if you can't come to Berlin on these dates, then let us know through email or through chat. We are looking at multiple localizations for the upcoming months to organize this kind of classroom trainings and bring more awesomeness to more developers. Yeah, so if you're interested, look up our training offer on the Sylius.com website. And now I'll turn and look through the chat to see what kind of questions we have. Let's see. So just give me a second to go through the chat. Yeah, thanks for all positive feedback. I don't know what is doing at the end. I'm going through the chat. Okay, I think the first question, is Sylius suitable for use with Laravel, or is it tied to Symfony? Like I said, the lowest level PHP components, you can use them with pretty much any framework that is compatible with PHP 7.2 plus. So you can totally use them in Laravel. I think there have been some efforts started but never finished to use these components with Laravel, like to build some kind of a small e-commerce platform on top of Laravel. So it is possible, but I would say the scenario where you really take the components alone and use them with something different with Symfony is rather unique case, or not extremely popular. It's for super. I know there are some sites built with Laravel and Sylius components that are running in production and handling roughly like 100,000 visits, unique visitors per month. So not the biggest traffic, but not some small websites. But I would say it very much depends on your team. If you have a team that is strong in Laravel, then and the business really needs something custom, then maybe it's worth the shot. But otherwise, I would invest into learning Symfony. You will have plenty of tools to use. Or if it's a Are you open to include some small plugins on the Sylius core? Well, depends on what you mean. We actually, the new functionality that I mentioned that was not visible in the demo, like refunds, returns, admin order creation, we actually decided to develop them as plugins. Plugins that might be included in the core. So you plugin that is compatible with our roadmap, and you are willing to help us with integrating it within the core, then I think it's something we could definitely consider. You would need to talk with the product owner and the team on GitHub. So if you have a proposal for integrating your plugin into core, then I would say put it as a roadmap issue. That will open the discussion for us and for the community and see. Apple Pay, yeah, so Apple Pay might be supported through Stripe, like someone mentioned, but I don't have a clear answer right now. I'm not 100% sure that there is some Apple Pay integration already with Sylius. Yeah, so we have something about Windows. We currently do not support Windows, so it's something that is constantly on my mind, that we might should support it, but we tried to do it in the past. We set up continuous integration environment on some Windows machine, but we Windows developers in-house. So for us, it's difficult. It was the continuous integration setup was maintained by a community member, but it was extremely slow, multiple times slower than the setup of on Travis CI. So we decided to stick with the Linux and Mac environments for now. If we have maybe some contributions from the community, then we are definitely willing to support Windows if it's possible properly. Why it's paying to use it on mobile? Why you guys choose Semantic? I choose Semantic because at the time when in 2016 when I decided to rewrite and also rebuild Sylius admin in a more usable way, solutions we compare. Then Semantic UI was basically the best option in terms of ready-to-use features that could be easily adopted by us than front end. And so the UI, we managed to build the UI pretty quickly. I think it would take us a lot more time if we go for Bootstrap or something like that. So that was the reasoning behind choosing Semantic, the time and the know-how that we had. It's important to consider it, what kind of cards you have at hand right now. And but we are definitely, when we finish with the new front end, we will consider improving the admin UI, perhaps rebuilding it with something more pleasant to work with, also on mobile. What about B2B solution? Well, it's definitely an interesting topic for us, especially that B2B solutions are very often projects that require custom development. You know, if you ever work on a B2B project, you know how crazy the pricing can be, the pricing strategy, different customer pricing lists, different credits, quotes, and so on. But we currently don't have in-house resources to focus on B2B here in-house at Sylius. We have 2 circles in Holacracy. Our structure will be public after we publish the blog post, so you'll be able to see exactly how we work and what is the organization structure. So we have 2 circles right now, one that is focused on Sylius e-commerce framework development, and the other one is work solution, the niche and the marketplace sector. And if we are able to have more energy and also support the partner ecosystem and community, then we are definitely willing to think about building B2B module, B2B plugins, or like B2B edition of Sylius or something like that. It could be interesting to manage rights on the admin ACL natively without a plugin. Yeah, so we have this old airbag bundle that I actually built for early version of Sylius before we decided to remove some of the functionalities to make the platform more stable rather than bloat it with features. And now we are discussing, it's actually on our roadmap. So if you want to go and put a thumbs up and some opinion there, then it will definitely make it more likely that this airbag, which is a hierarchical role-based access control bundle that allows you to create a tree of permissions and tree of roles that you are able to assign to your users, and depending on that, they have access to different parts of admin interface and admin functionality. Then it's more likely that it will come back. And also be able to have invoices for orders. Yeah, so I think there is for simple invoicing, there's a plugin already from Bitback. And one of the things that we are doing right now is also proper invoicing system. It still won't replace your accounting, but it's a popular use case to issue the invoices from the e-commerce platform, even for the medium-sized stores, from what we have seen. And we are building that right now. It will be available as a plugin. Yeah, I think invoicing is currently being developed. Yeah. Yeah, so I see we have 2 opinions about semantic UI. It has some drawbacks, definitely. I think it depends on your know-how. For very good front-end developers, some things might be annoying. I think the biggest pain right now is the slowness of the development of semantic UI. From what I've seen, it's not very actively developed at the moment. +1 for more docs and videos. Yeah, so this webinar is an attempt to. I'll publish it online. So it's something that you might use to introduce Sylius to other fellow developers. And we're thinking about. I think definitely. I think it's safe to assume that after we become good at organizing these classroom trainings, because we have done many on-site trainings already, and now it's time for the classrooms, then our focus will be on the on-demand training and webinars on our website. It's definitely something that we want to focus on. Problem with extending already extended entity. Yeah, this is a tricky part, and we'll probably need to sit down on a brainstorm inside of the Sylius circle here and figure it out, because we get a lot of questions. My idea for the solution was to use traits, because as a developer you install the plugin anyway. It's not click to install, so you can make a conscious developer technical decision based in technical reasoning, like which entity will extend which one, and which entity will rely on traits from plugins, for example. So that might be not perfect, but a solution where you have your own entity or custom entity that uses 2 or 3 traits from the plugins instead of extending the whole entity. There are a couple of things to figure out, like automatically mapping the doctrine stuff, the doctrine mapping for the database, but I think it's something that we can figure out pretty soon. like the exception about CMS, I think that's something, I don't know the exact architecture of the CMS plugin, so I think you would need to open an issue on the repository of the plugin. I have there is no permission access per role out of the box. Is it true? There is what we have for permissions out of the box is Symfony security component. So it's pretty easy as a developer to configure, different user roles that are defined in the system, and configure a role that has access only to the orders in the admin or only of the products. But like I said in my previous answer about the ACL, we will either recommend the plugin that's available out there already, or we will bring back the airbag functionality so that you can actually do it through the UI. That would be mostly the difference. Hot topic for everyone. Could Sylius Symfony BD coexist nicely with a DDD integration? I think you would need to elaborate a bit about what you mean by DDD integration. But what I can say is that domain-driven design is definitely something that we are exploring heavily, and we are actually using it in some of our projects. And I think it's safe to say that this will be a big part of the future Sylius direction. And we can confirm that it can coexist. So yeah, actually the new plugins are currently developed with some of the with the DD stuff and DD approach. So it can coexist, and it's especially pleasant for the BHAT suite when you can test, when you can run the scenario within the domain context rather than full UI stuff. It precious 4 digits after the comma for wholesale. Yeah, like I said, B2B is definitely interesting for us, but there is a lot of work to be done, and we right now would rather focus on one niche, which is the marketplaces. I know it's possible because the two digits after comma is just configured, I believe, in tweak formatters and forms. So it's possible to customize it to make it more than just 2 digits. And make it work for wholesale, but yeah, so that's how I see the theoretical implementation, customizing the forms so that they do not convert the amounts, and customizing because we save the cache as an integer anyway, so it's a matter of displaying and converting the value in the forms. Are you going to stream the class courses? It doesn't have to be for free. Yeah, we were thinking about our pricing strategy is basically give away all the base information and knowledge that is needed to start with Sylius. So stuff like documentation, a tutorial that we are working on, some kind of intro webinars or some basic customization webinars. This is definitely something that we are able to do for free. For courses, and especially like online instructor-led courses, when someone needs to spend, when the whole academic circle here at Sylius spends a lot of time on developing training programs, and then an instructor needs to spend like 3 days running the course, then this is something that definitely needs to be paid offer. But it's something that we definitely consider. I can't promise you when this will happen, but it will happen for sure. What about PHP as expert? To my knowledge, no. So I don't know anything about this. Do you plan to update all docs to Symfony 4? Well, it needs to happen, but to be honest, we don't have any project running about this right now. I might raise it as a attention during the next meeting and see if we are able to push that forward. Like I said, with the 4-digit on display, on the database we store integers. So you can perfectly store a 4-digit with precision of 4 digits because you save it in like fractional amounts anyway. We did not get the technology the new front end is supposed to be based on. Yeah, so right now, like I said, the design is ready. It's still consistent with the information architecture that we have in Sylius. It's much more, there was a significant effort put by our solution partner Concuria into doing proper UI and UX research. We started with wireframes for mobile and desktop views, and now we have the full design based on Google Material Design 2.0, so the newest one that was announced recently. So it's the design is made, and the decision on the design system is also made. It will be Google Material Design. Now about the front end, we are gathering feedback from the partners and also from the community to make a decision like how we will implement. I can already say it won't be a full-blown PWA or SPA site. It will be still tweak-based rendering, maybe with an option in the future to use it as PWA. The decision that still needs to be made is how we approach the JavaScript, because currently the JavaScript inside of Sylius frontend is jQuery-ish stuff with some of the semantic UI things, but we would like to definitely improve it. Yeah, and it will be with Figma. That's the new frontend is done with Figma, so that's a very cool thing. Okay, I think I managed to get to the end of the questions. Yeah, if you have some final questions, then please shoot. I'll be happy to answer. How many developers do you have working on Sylius? We currently have 5 developers working in-house. Like I said, we have holacracy, so it's difficult to say like who is full-time on Sylius, but we are currently running Scrum sprints on Sylius, so there's always at least 2 full-time developers, 2 full-time backend developers working on Sylius backend, with usually 2 more supporting, but also working on all kinds of stuff, maintenance, Docker, and other things. And we are hiring a front-end developer, right? But not a remote one. We are hiring here in Łódź, in Poland. Can the Sylius API be installed without the front-end stuff? Well, you would just install the Sylius, start a new Sylius project and disable the shop and admin interfaces and remove gulp. You don't need it, and then you have Sylius running, Sylius API available, but without shop interface. I think there's a tutorial on our documentation on how to disable the shop interface, and it's pretty much the same for the admin. Will there be some other training? I did one small training with peer committee from Czech Republic, and if you're interested in like a paid class, definitely would need at least, probably it's not that far from us, just a couple of hours drive, so definitely possible. For customization, should we extend your classes or rewrite them? Actually, most of the time, none of these 2 options. For models, extend. This is the current approach. But for all the rest, we prefer, we recommend either decoration or composition. These are the 2 patterns which help you avoid, like overwriting the core and having your own custom piece of core inside of your project. So it's much easier to decorate some of the services that we have. We provide a really good architecture with interfaces So it's possible for you to, I would recommend reading up on decoration and composition. This is also part of the training that we do. Training or training partners expansion expected in Asia Pacific region. I mean, we want to definitely go worldwide. We are ambitious, but so currently we are still a relatively small business with 10 people on board, and our focus is Europe. So as soon as we are able to invest a bit more in expansion, then we will do it definitely. Or if we find good partners with strong Sylius experience that we could either white label or collaborate our trainings in other regions, we are open. Okay, to be honest, I don't remember what kind of time frame we have set for the webinar, but I have some meetings coming up, so I'll be wrapping up. So thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this webinar and learned a bit more about Sylius as a product and also Sylius as an organization. Thanks for the positive feedback and also for the questions. It's really helpful for us to figure out what you need and what will make Sylius a better technology that can catalyze more. See you on GitHub, Slack, and have a fantastic day. I'll turn off the stream, but stay for a moment in the chat. So yeah, thank you, folks. That's very good Polish. See you, bye-bye.